welcome to Series About Film 2, Back in Action. My name's Eddie Harrison, and this is the second series of our weekly reports from the Marienbad Film Festival, where film comes first with a capital F. This week, we're going to be looking at A Lady So Pretty in Pink, the first fruits of Marienbad's original Shakespeare strand. Shakespeare, of course, is best known for his comedies and his tragedies, but up until now, he's not been known as the author of teen movies. This is, however, until the unprecedented discovery of a first folio of teen movies written by Shakespeare, which was found in the attic of John Hughes's Glendale home. In the film, Molly Ringwald plays Eleonora, a student at the Verona High School. She travels with her handmaiden Andrea to the Veronese market, hoping to meet her suitor, Blandero, played by Andrew McCarthy. However, when they arrive there, they are disturbed by a commotion, played by Lloyd Cole. A travelling entertainer, Ducky Dale, arrives but is attacked by a mob and leaves pursued by a psychedelic fur, played by Richard Burtler. This is a strong film with a spectacular soundtrack featuring Lexitins, Transvision Vamp, Teenage Fan Club, HRH Queen Victoria, and also with several tracks taken from David Soul's Carnival of Soul album. Let's take a look. Powerful stuff there, one of the entries in this year's Marienbad Film Festival. Well, now we're actually very excitingly going to go live over to our roving reporter, Paul Whitelaw, who's actually in the Marienbad Hotel right now and soaking up the atmosphere. So, Paul, I don't know if you can hear me right now. Paul, can you hear me?
Just about, Freddie, so I didn't quite catch that. It is a bit manic here, as you can tell, as always, here at the 273rd Annual Marienbad Film Festival. Quite difficult to make out what you're saying. It's all a bit mental. I've only been here a few hours, but already I've seen some amazing films and been ignored by stars such as Jennifer Lopez, Jeff Goldblum, Steve Guttenberg, and the entire cast of Dude, Where's My Ear? Director Quentin Tarantino's surprising foray into the teen movie idiom.
I'm surprised to hear Steve Guttenberg's there. I mean, I felt that Steve Guttenberg took away a lot of the press from him. Is Guttenberg out there in force?
The Guttenberg posse is here in force with quite a gung-ho campaign this year. A lot of controversy. He's rather undermining the campaign by Bubba Smith, who played Hightower from the hit series, who's here showing his own personal movie about the struggle of his black ancestors through the years. A very worthy film, and I think Guttenberg's gung-ho tactics are really undermining that campaign.
Okay, Paul, so can you tell us a little about some of the other movies there? I know that Mike Lee's Vera Duckworth, the story of a woman who can't bear to tell her family that she's actually a character from Coronation Street. I gathered that screening, but what are the other hot movies this year?
The hot movies, Teddy, are definitely George A. Romero's controversial remake of the 80s classic Breakdance 2 Electric Boogaloo. His reimagining of that film, he's titled How the Undead Got Their Groove Back, causing a lot of waves here amongst the living and the dead, and hopefully we'll be having a chat with the star of that film, Yaz, a little bit later on.
Thank you very much, Paul, for that broadcast from the Marienbad Film Festival.
Thanks.
Next up, we're going to be looking at Wes Craven's I Knew What You Did Last Year in Marienbad, which has stormed...
That went really well, Eddie. Thanks. That's great.
Cheers. Thanks, Paul. Which has stormed the festival. But next, we're going to have a look at Kangaroo Jack versus The Weeping Camel. Hello and welcome back to Marienbad. Next up, we've got a controversial musical from Sir Alan Parker, O Osama. Featuring songs by Andrew Lloyd Webber and also by Fran Healy from Travis, the film stars RuPaul as the likeable Afghan dictator and mass murderer. Notable highlights include a Busby Berkeley-style line of high-kicking mullahs singing Don't Cry For Me Condoleezza, and also a reggae dub trip-hop version of W Be Good To Me. Let's take a look. Next up from Marienbad, we've got a Scottish poetry biopic, a film about the great Scottish poet James Gant, entitled A Brigadoon Too Far. Eh, Scotland, my Highland hame, rolling in the heather with the haggis at my feet. My granny knitting soup by the light of a table lamp made from a German soldier killed by my grandfather. What's for you'll no go by you, my sweet haggis? James Gant wrote these words more than 400 years ago. But his voice can still be heard today, some say by holding an empty can of Tennent's Super Lager up to your ear while lying on Saltcoats Beach. Yet, while modern, Gant was very much a man of his time, which was usually about 11:30 on a Saturday night. James Gant was only 6 years old when his family strapped a submachine gun on his back and sent him out to fight in World War I. By the time he was 17, James Gant had been fighting furiously for 8 years and was greatly relieved when the war itself actually began. Caught up in the revolutionary fervour, Gant found himself in George Square, throwing cobblestones at approaching government tanks. The police moved quickly amongst the agitators, mentioning to the public that there was a Rangers-Celtic match on that afternoon, and the crowd quickly dispersed, leaving only Partick Thistle supporters, who were quickly rounded up by police in dawn raids the next day. Let's take a look at Gant's masterwork. Stimulating and powerful stuff. Next up from the Marienbad Film Festival, we've got a live report. Our reporter Brian Sylvester is actually there in Marienbad reporting on mass protest today by the locals in protest against what appears to be a longer working day. Brian, I don't know if you can hear me properly. I know that there's a lot of noise there in Marienbad, but can you fill us in a little bit? What exactly are people protesting about, and what is their grievance? It's about 7:15 here. The people of Marienbad, as you may have gathered, are very, very, very angry about the film festival. They're being asked to work 27-hour weeks, and that means that for a lot of them, that means going to work 7 or 8 hours. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you just over the noise of the crowd there, because it is very, very noisy indeed. Can you tell us a little bit about, I understand Jennifer Lopez and Cate Blanchett were there earlier on today. Can you describe exactly what they were wearing? I don't know if you can hear me above this noise, but there's about 70,000 tonnes of aluminium being used. There's a huge amount of plastic sheeting, and there's been probably enough canopies to feed the crew of a submarine. It's very, very, very difficult to pick out what you're saying here. Could you describe to us, what are the films that are hot this year at Marienbad? What's the buzz on the street? It's been fairly hot and drizzly here. Bromided Victorian dowagers have been standing by, and there were rumours that Sean Bean would be promoting his autobiography, I Missed a Bean Too. I'm sorry, it's very, very, very difficult to make you out. I mean, can you tell us just what do you think the likely outcome of this kind of power struggle in Marienbad is going to be? I'm sorry, I mean, I can't hear you above the noise of this crowd. It looks like there's a very ugly scene at Marienbad right now, so obviously I'm going to have to make a run for it, so I'm very, very sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, we seem to have lost contact with Marienbad. Hopefully we'll be back after this break.
Welcome back to Series About Film 2, Back in Action, and our weekly report from the Marienbad Film Festival. Next up, a sci-fi epic, Alien vs Predator 451. Not quite the free-for-all one might have expected, Michael Moore proves his even-handedness as executive producer of this politically aware horror fest.
Standing at podium-mounted lecterns in front of a live studio audience, there's much gnashing of steel teeth and rattling of futuristic sabres as the Alien and the Predator debate a series of audience-prompted questions, including healthcare, education and interplanetary dominance.
There's an immediate frisson as the Alien takes personal offence about a question of stem cell research, followed by a heated exchange about the Predator's possible draft evasion during the galactic wars of Ursa Minor. Next week, the Alien takes on popular DJ Jason Nevins, while the Alien faces a potentially difficult away tie against Hong Kong Phooey, filmed in Ang Lee's Crouching Dog, Stripy Cat. Let's take a look.
Next up on Series About Film, we've got a live report from the Marienbad Film Festival, where Paul Whitelaw is in the lobby of the Marienbad Hotel. Paul, Good to see you there. Can you tell us, first of all, I gather that there's been quite heavy rain overnight, and that may have dampened the spirits of some of the people at the film festival.
Yes, sodden is perhaps the best way to describe the Marienbad Film Festival this year, Eddie. But as you say, those torrential rainfalls haven't actually dampened the spirits of the festival goers this year, and all the stars have turned out in force, braving the weather. In fact, just moments before we came on air, Barry Manilow, bedraggled, beaten, fell through the doors of this very foyer onto the floor with a triumphant roar of "I made it through the rain." Manilow is now recuperating in a cupboard, but his management do inform me that he will be playing a 3-hour set in the hotel ballroom this afternoon, whether anybody wants him to or not.
I'm sure that will reassure the people of Marienbad. Also, I gather there's been quite a few kind of unusual stars coming in today. Who have you spotted when you've been out on your travels?
Yeah, that's right. Well, just this afternoon, I bumped into actor John Lithgow, now renamed John Lynn Lithgow, after being given the keys to that beautiful Scottish village just this weekend. He said to me, "I have no idea where I've just been, but man, do those cats hold a party." I also bumped into a young man everyone's talking about here at Marienbad. That is funny man Fred Macaulay Culkin, who is the latest and definitely most annoying member of the interminable Culkin clan.
And I also gather that Yul Brynner, posthumously, his autobiography has been published called Brynner Takes It All. Are there any other kind of sensations that are sweeping Marienbad at the moment?
Yes, well, actor Rob Lowe was in town. He's promoting his new cable game show, How Low Can You Go, which has proved to be a real eye-opener here at Marienbad. We've also had some other funny people whose names I can't remember.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much for that report. What are you going to do? Are you going to go and see some films now, or are there parties ahead for you?
I'm going to lie down in a box.
Paul Whitelaw at the Marienbad Film Festival. He was talking there about Yul Brynner's Brynner Takes It All. Let's take a look at that. Hello and welcome back to Series About Film 2, Back in Action, and our weekly reports from the Marienbad Film Festival. Next up, we've got Slovenian melodrama, with Emil Costa Rica's Everything But the Kitchen Sink. Costa Rica's annual return to form sees him meld the usual scraps of gypsy life, war, Scientology, sex, nationalism, Eskimo folklore, cereal packets, glitter, philosophy and ruminative monologues into a seamless patchwork of inconsequential scenes and scrambled dialogue. A mute farmer, Joseph finds trenchant, discovers that a well on his property is the gateway to a mythical police state. Should he board it up, or travel through to become a tourist in communist Prague and romance the lovely Svetlana, played by Natasha McClone? Indecisive, he elects to throw a huge gypsy feast, inviting friends, family and accountants. But as the smell of roast pork begins to fade away, the farmer must ask himself, who will tend the fields next year? Fabulous cinematography from Vittorio Pompitus and a deep house score from John Cale. Let's take a look. Welcome back to Series About Films 2, Back in Action, with me, Eddie Harrison. Next up, The Passion Recut. Mel Gibson has added 20 minutes of eye-popping CGI and action to his original version of the Bible story. New scenes include a 17-vehicle car versus gyrocopter chase through Palestine, some buddy humour with Danny Glover as Pontius Pilate, and the controversial personification of the devil as a gay Jewish drug baron, featuring an amusing commentary by God himself, plus outtakes and bloopers. Let's take a look. Lastly tonight on Series About Film 2, Back in Action, we've got cartoon live-action mayhem with the Hair Bear Bunch in Wonderland. Casting big Hollywood stars as animated characters has proved popular, and this one features Owen Wilson, Randy Quaid and Bill Murray as the likeable inhabitants of Cave Number 9 in the Wonderland Zoo. Alan Rickman also has a small cameo role as Mr. Peevely. It's the first in a new Hanna-Barbera franchise that includes Elmore Leonard's Inch-High Private Eye with Harvey Keitel, Steven Spielberg's Jabberjaw, and Bill Murray as Deputy Dog in Wes Anderson's typically bittersweet reimagining of the classic cartoon. With the new Wacky Races film about to come out and Nicole Kidman squaring up as Penelope Pitstop, and with Vin Diesel set to play Peter Perfect of the Perfect Mobile, it looks like this is a franchise that will run and run. Let's take a look. Sadly, that's all we've got time for on the final episode of Series About Film 2, Back in Action. My name's been Eddie Harrison, and this has been my weekly report from the...
Sorry, Eddie, sorry to interrupt. A bit of a surprise for Eddie and the ladies and gentlemen at home. Eddie, for all your work in Marienbad over the last few weeks, the director of Marienbad and myself would like to present to you this, the prestigious annual Thin Goat Award. Eddie Harrison for magnificent work.
Thank you very, very much indeed. I would just like to say a few words about receiving an award that I've dreamt of all of my life. This has been probably the proudest moment, and I do
Eddie,
want it...
we'd also, the directors and I would like to present you with this hand-painted print, which depicts, of course, the famous town centre in the middle of Marienbad. Please take a look.
That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Obviously, it wasn't all about me. I can't help feeling very grateful to the team of people who worked with me to create these broadcasts, to, you know...
And Eddie, sorry, it's another one. This one's from Bill.
Right. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Thank you again. Right. But most of all, I'd like to thank myself. I've been magnificent. I've stood by myself all the way through. Even when I didn't believe that I could do this programme, I was always there, believing that I actually could. And I just want to say thank you, most of all, to... I want to say thank you most of all to myself and to everyone at Thistle TV for creating this programme. Thank you from the Marienbad Film Festival. It's been a joy, a pleasure, and I beg... Well, it wouldn't be so bad if I couldn't see what was going on in the big screen in front of me. Like. Next up, Slovenian Kick. Hello, and welcome back to Serious About 2.
And the Great Soprano has just arrived as well. Arch rivals with Charlie Caroli. Hopefully they won't be completely don't know what I was talking about there.
Thistle TV, 17 Roundtree House, ML1, 5...
We should have at 17 Roundtree Avenue.
What did I say?
17 Roundtree House.
Send your tapes to Serious About Films, Thistle TV, 17 Roundtree House. F*** it. Right, count me in again. Right, just...
Rock as well.
What?
You forgot to rock.
I forgot to rock. Well, no, the rocking's going to come in gradually.
All right.
But I also forgot to say anything, so that was obviously a mistake.